Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited for episode today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote. None are so old as those who have outlived enthusiasm. Henry David Thoreau.
Oh, perfect.
Our guest is a great friend of the Culture Matters podcast. They've been on the show before. Please go check out season 20, episode 237. Season 33, episode 389, and season 39, episode 459. Our guest today, philosopher of Blacktop, friend of the Culture Matters podcast, pioneer maverick
Mm,
around banter,
mhm,
Blacktop Banter. Yes, founder of Wis-Coat and friend to an industry that may not deserve friendship.
mm, mm.
MJ's back.
It's good to be back. That was probably the best introduction I've ever had, and probably the most accurate, I would say.
It's easy.
Yeah, yeah. I really like the Thoreau quote. It's proper, I think, for this stage. I think the last time I was on was almost a year ago or so, and it's been they say a lot can happen in a year, right? Yeah, it's true. A lot can happen in a year. And that Thoreau quote was just right, I think, because there really has been a lack of enthusiasm, and I am getting older, Jay. So maybe I am outliving some of the enthusiasm, but yeah, it was perfect.
If you had a word for 24, what would your word be?
Oh, dang, that's a good one. Hmm, rebirth. I think rebirth is really, really good for that. Yeah, rebirth. I was gonna say metamorphosis, but I don't think so because I feel like rebirth means part of you died. Metamorphosis is like you just changed into something else. So I would say rebirth. Yeah.
What died?
I feel like an older version of me that was hanging on to a lot of things, not like materialistic things, but just a lot of intangible things that maybe I thought made up an identity of a person that I was molded into, and outside forces kind of make that stuff wilt, at some point. So yeah, it was interesting. So a lot of things died, to answer the question, right? The enthusiasm, not the row quote was just right. A lot of enthusiasm for some of my previous endeavors has started to wane. Um, I want to say maybe it's just because they've ran their course, or maybe the purpose that they were created for was achieved. And it's really hard for me. You and I, we're fortunate to be around a lot of ambitious, goal-oriented achievers. And I'm pretty good at resetting my goals, right? We talk a lot about this when we're at events and whatnot of, achieving your goal, or at least hoping to achieve your goal, resetting at a higher mark and going and achieving that goal. That's easy for me to do at Wis-Coat. Wis-Coat's in its 20th year. So it's 20 years doing
Wow.
asphalt work. Yeah. And that's been easy to do, is kind of reset that and shoot and try to achieve that. Where it's really hard is something with Blacktop Banner, where the goal never was a number, but the goal was an achievement, right? Or something like that. And once that hits, it's like, whoa, how do I reset a goal for a new achievement? Right? I mean, if this was this thing's purpose and the purpose is fulfilled, what the heck am I doing? Right? Because I didn't do it to start another business. So it's been interesting. And some of those things had to die. My hands were full. Some of those things had to die and let go about me, about some of these things, in order for me to grab some new things and create some space for new things. So I would say that's kind of the synopsis of that.
What's Blacktop Banner?
Yeah.
What is it today?
It's this room. It's I think it's in a lot of people, it's uh a memory maybe for some people, right? Or it's a feeling. I think for some people it's a feeling. For me, it's a stage, and I don't know that I necessarily knew that it was a stage, but it was a stage, is a stage. We've got podcasts recorded. We're going to go to the end of. I know you. This podcast is going to come out quite a bit later, but I think we're going to go to the end of this December, and I think I'm going to chart a different path. So it's been interesting because it creates revenue, which you and I are both interested in how things create revenue, right? It creates revenue that, if you listen to previous podcasts, we talk about how I grew up, revenue that I never dreamed it would ever create or that I would ever have. But along this journey to get to this point, what I've deemed as important or actually valuable doesn't really have anything to do with monetary means or monetary income. So it's hard for me to keep chasing something for that when I hope to achieve different things that I believe have more value. So that's really where it's at. So it's really unique. Um, it's unique. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to let go of something that's involved in a lot of people's lives and figure out how to transition that so that it's not an abrupt stop and it's not abrasive and they feel like they're without, right? So the last 3 or 4 months here, as we're tailing into the end of 2024, that's what I've been doing. Been keeping a low profile and really making sure I usher in and usher out the way that I should, being the friend of the industry that I am. I want to make sure I'm doing justifiably correct things.
Have you been sad?
A little bit, but to be honest with you, Jay, I was more sad before I made the decision, right? I just didn't know it. I was trying to do a lot, and we were trying to do a lot, and we were doing a lot. Um, but I had a conversation earlier with a friend, one of the guys that's in the Blacktop Banter Success Group, and has started doing some speaking and different things. And he was just like, what was it like? Like, what happened and what was it? And it was literally the fact that not just that I hit capacity, but I was less focused on what really made me happy when I started doing this and more focused on not letting the people that had partnered with us down. And that really took away a lot of steam in this thing. And I necessarily don't think that I can rewind that clock. I think I have to wipe the slate clean and restart, which you and I talk about time a lot, right? For me, in one frame, I could look at it and say, man, I'm halfway through and I'm going to have to wipe the slate clean and figure something else out. But then on the other side, I'm like, wow, I'm only halfway through. Shoot, got plenty of time, right? So I have some ideas and different things, but I'm I know we have mixed feelings, you and I, about social media. One of them is a clip that I see fairly often where, um, it's like, take it, just get somebody speaking like, take a year off, go into hiding for a year, focus on what you need to do and come back and see what happens. And I always thought, man, that's such a BS thing to say, right? But then as I got closing in on the weight of what was all happening, I was like, oh, yeah, I should probably take a year off and really focus and really hone in on what I want to do and what that looks like for the remainder of my time here. And I feel like we got a good idea, but I want to take a good amount of time this next year and really, really make sure that the next 30, 40 years of my life, I'm doing what I want to do and not have to dial back. But we'll see what happens.
You meant for your life.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a unique character. I know that I have unique perspectives, unique thoughts. And I know that what the world has deemed should scratch the itch doesn't scratch the itch for me. Therefore, I have to take some time and really make sure that I'm doing what is satisfactory. Because if not, it's hard for me to get through a day and feel like I was happy doing it. Right? That's that question you referred to. Were you sad? A lot of days I was sad because it was just not enjoyable. Right? I don't want to say I was a slave to it, but I'd signed my name on some contracts where we had to get done, and we had a contract on the table. The turning point really for me was middle of the summer. I'd had some health issues, and then I started to having you know me fairly well. I've always been able to think and articulate very, very well. I had some health issues, went to the hospital, then had some cognitive issues after that, and ended up for the first time speaking to a therapist of like something's up in here. I don't know how to organize it in order to make things function the way they should function. And I spent the last 6 months through therapy trying to figure out how to get this thing straightened out. And thankfully, within the last month and a half, things have been coming around really, really well. So I'm excited. Started writing more and being able to focus more, and it's working out. So,
What's writing done for you?
it really made me love it a lot more. I used to write early in my career. I wrote a lot, especially in high school. I would write a lot and be very creative. I would write songs and make sure everything rhymed and did whatever. But now it's made me really fall in love with it. I write for some of the industry magazines still, and that's probably like one of the biggest highlights of the month. I wish they would let me. I wish they would put a magazine out every week so I could write every week, right? But now I'm just starting to write, right? I have some downtime. I've made sure to carve some time out, and I'm able to write pretty frequently. So it's going good, and it's done really well for me. It allows me to kind of put my thoughts out. I enjoy it because you use or were using Threads as kind of like a journal last time we spoke,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm kind of able to do that. I've been doing it a lot on LinkedIn, um, and I just kind of enjoy observing people's reactions to it because on LinkedIn we're supposed to be talking about professional stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about, mental health. I'm talking about family time. I'm talking about um, feeling your purpose, right, at certain timelines in your time frame. And it's unique to see the professionals like correspond back to me in certain ways where they're like, I think about this a lot. And, and you're the managing director of a big financial institution, and that guy's commenting saying, man, I think about this. How do you sort this out? So it's getting to be pretty unique.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
I,
know.
I
I got some
re-listened
juice.
to I re-listened to our podcast today.
Yeah, which one? Thoreau? The one we did
All of
on
them.
Thoreau. Oh, we did all. Okay, you listened to all of them. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
It's a
good.
yeah, they're pretty decent. Yeah, they're pretty decent. I'm tomorrow I'm going to be driving quite a bit, so I'm gonna go back and listen to ours then too. It's been unique for me to I had this unique thing where I'm probably the pioneer that started the social media and started documenting things early on. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to put content out. But man, to go back and look at some of my stuff and to listen to myself speak now, like when we listen to this podcast, I not only do I look like a different person, I sound like a different person, right? So it makes me think about there's been metamorphosis in there, which is why I was going to use that word. But then when we hyperlocate on the time frame of 2024,
Hmm.
it's rebirth. Yeah.
Did you interview people in 24?
I did. I interviewed a lot early on, and then we had a big industry conference down in San Antonio. When that was over, I noticed that I was having some issues. I noticed that I kind of felt inebriated somewhat, and that gets stuck. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? Maybe I was just, high from, the adrenaline rush of the Blacktop Banter conference kickoff, us being there, like getting to interact with my friends and everything. But it kind of stayed foggy. And then we went to World of Asphalt,
Hmm.
um, which had already been set up. So I didn't have to do any real um, thought-provoking work or logistics or anything. And once I got through that one, we got back to real work, being creative and having to put things together. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I was like just stuck. And I felt bad for my team. I started, we recorded, but you can just tell in some of these podcasts that are coming out lately, they're not the caliber of what I was the year before. Right. And it was just one of these things where I'm like, something is up. So we batch recorded so that I didn't have to record over the summer months while we were doing asphalt work at Wis-Coat. And we had just enough to get us to December. November, Chris was like, dude, you got to record. You're going to have to start recording. Thankfully, I'd been a guest on a couple podcasts and knew that some of my ability had came back since I was in the hospital. And I was confident. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit down. We're going to move the podcast space so that I'm comfortable, and we're going to get to it. And they went off really, really well. So we recorded recently, I think 4 or 5 podcasts within the last 2 weeks. So it's been good. And they went really well.
What has that happened before? Were you
No, not really, not that long of a thing. So what ended up, through the therapist, the doctor, Dr. Sapp, who's been fantastic, he said, Marvin, I think you have panic disorder because you get yourself in these situations and you take on these responsibilities and then you panic about them. The problem is you are doing this nonstop. As soon as something is done, you're agreeing to the next thing, and then you're constantly thinking about it and your deliverables for your friends, which I consider all of our partners that we've all always had friends, and you don't want to let your friends down. He's like, you're in a fight or flight response that is only supposed to last in nature 5 minutes at the most, and you're in it 24/7. And I don't know how long you've been doing it, but it's been long enough to crack. And I can remember having some certain like panic attacks where I couldn't come out of the house for a couple of days and it would wear off. I talk about anxiety a lot and have through the years where I would be like, yeah, I was worried about this thing. And when I opened the door, it really wasn't that bad. But I talk about that a lot in my past experiences. And I'm like, oh, maybe I was going through this and didn't know it. So it's never happened before. It didn't happen that bad. And it never happened to where I had like cognitive impairments. But we had a friend, Benjamin Holmgren, and he uh, ran a huge event, an industry event, not our industry, but a parallel industry. And he had a stroke a week after this huge event that he threw. And he was 28, and he was like, yeah, I don't know. They had found a blood clot, and I had cognitive issues for a while. When I went into the hospital, they had my blood pressure was like 188 over 138. And they're like, Marvin, you're going to have a stroke. Like, we got to get some medicine in you and figure this out. And after that, I had cognitive issues. And through the exercises and whatnot, through therapy, if I would have kept that like tough exterior of like, I'm a man, I don't need therapy, I never would have found these exercises or processes that helped me organize my thoughts to get back to where I'm feeling comfortable again. So yeah, I never had it before, and it was a very interesting experience.
you could have had a stroke?
Maybe, yeah, maybe we never really took scans. They did an EKG of my heart, said my heart was fine. They asked me to follow things with their eyes, asked me questions, and I was able to answer them. But looking back, there are things where there's subtle things, Jay, like you know me well enough to know that if you ask me who works where and what position, I can tell you their name. With any company, wherever, however, I've always been the connector and been like the human Rolodex. That went away. I couldn't remember who worked where. And if I met somebody in a moment, I couldn't remember their name really. So that started to go. Any song that I heard before that incident that I knew, I could recall. Any new songs since then for the 6 months afterwards or 5 months afterwards, whenever it was, I was having trouble recalling the lyrics to these songs. And I'm like, these are just subtle things, but I notice them, and I know that they're recalling things in my brain that I should be doing. Now I do very, very well. I'm playing music again, and I can recite lyrics, and I'm remembering names and different things from before. But I wouldn't say I'm back. I would say I'm probably 80% where I was 2023 when it comes to that. But 80% is better than, dude, I might have been 20% at one point. Like it was tough,
What was your work schedule like?
nonstop. I mean, even after that, like I didn't have time. We were in the middle of asphalt season. My hands are still calloused from working. Um, Uniquely in this situation, I was going through a divorce as well, but I had a new girlfriend, right? So my wife and I had been separated for quite a while, and the divorce process started in February. So that was also thrown in there, which added to the plate. But my girlfriend Nikki and I had started dating, and I honestly think like for a lot of it, um, she kept me balanced to where like, hey, my schedule works with this. What's your schedule look like? And it would make me think, what does my schedule look like? And how do I plan this out? And I think it was actually exercising me in ways that I might not have, right? So then I would be reminded, hey, I want to send Nikki flowers tomorrow at 10. So I would set an alarm on my phone. And sometimes I would try to beat my alarm by remembering it. And sometimes I could, sometimes I couldn't. Now I don't set an alarm. Like I just know, hey, if I want to send Nikki flowers tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up and do that. Right. So it's been a unique thing. And I think I was working pretty heavy during the whole thing and worrying about what Blacktop Banter is going to do. I was worried about the podcast I hadn't recorded yet in December in August, which is just preposterous, right? Like, why would you do that? But I was, and it was just was one of these things where like, okay, I have to figure out how to think. My brain is always, you know, this, my brain's always just been on fire. It just burns and it goes and tell me what you want to talk about. We're going to make it happen. But it was a wildfire. There was no control over it. Right. And now I have to be more controlled kind of in what I do. And that meant dialing back a lot of things, one of which is Blacktop Banner. Um, but there's been other aspects of my life too that I've kind of slowed back and dialed back a little bit and found some peace in other areas. And it's honestly, truthfully helped. Yeah. And I'm more excited now that I went through that in the position that I am now than I was before anything happened. Right. Because I just feel like I'm better equipped now.
Are you saying no now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Which is unique for me because I said, if there was an event, I was there. If there was some, if you, it was a chance to speak, I was there. You want me to write? I'm there. You know, do you want the job? Sure. Yeah. Let's do it. I say no now and I say yes to the things that I like a lot more, which hasn't been culturally within me what I did. My culture before was, yes, we do it. Yes, we could do anything. We're going to do it. And now it's, is this worthy of what it's going to cost me? Right. And that's not monetary. Like we're not talking monetary. Right. So, yeah.
How do you say no in a respectful way now?
I just tell a lot of people it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit within my capabilities. Right. I mean, it just doesn't. It's similar. Like I might look like I can do what I was doing before, and I might look like I want to, like I did before, but it's just not within my capabilities anymore. And it's just one of those things where it's like, well, yes, I could, but I can't do it like I used to. So you know, my therapist, Dr. Sapp, he's like, Marvin, I can't get you better so that you lift what you were lifting before. He's like, I can't do that, but I can get you better so that you lift what you should have been lifting. That makes that I can do because that's what you're supposed to do. That's longevity. If I get you back to where you were and you try to lift that again, you're going to crack. Right. So I was like, okay. He's like, but that means that you have to be cognitive of that. So it means you say no and say, no, that's not within my capabilities.
What's the reception been like?
It's been interesting. I mean, for the
Are
most
people
part,
after you with pitchforks?
some want to be, but God, I'm just so nice, right? I'm just too kind and too nice. Um, and they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we get it. Hey, if you're gonna do anything in the future, let us know. Okay, cool. You know, there's a few people that are upset, I'm sure of it, because they wanted, I'm a big believer, right? And I'm really easy to talk somebody into dreaming with me. And I believe that before I knew that I was going to hit my capacity, I may have brought people in on a dream thinking that we had all the tools that we needed to do it, and we didn't. And I feel bad about that a little bit. And you know, they're just disappointed because they wanted to see it happen too, I think.
Like selling the vision.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is very important, right? But if I would have known what we were capable of, I wouldn't have pressed so hard so soon. If I would have said, hey, it might take 20 years versus, hey, we can do this in 2 years, right? Or we can do this in 5 years, right? Versus we're just going to go all out. This is what we're going to do. We only got so much time to do it. We're going to make it happen. And, you know, you can want to plant, we're in Wisconsin, right? You can want to plant 1,000 acres worth of corn to get maximum bushels, but if you don't have the right soil and it's not in the right spot, you don't have the correct water, you ain't gonna get there. No matter how bad you want it, you ain't gonna get there. And I wonder sometimes about that field. You and I have talked about harvesting before. Uh, you know, I remember we were at TPG office and we were talking about harvesting fields going down towards your temporary office. Uh, you can want it bad. Um, but if it just isn't the right scenario, you can't make it happen the way that you would have hoped.
How are people doing out there?
Good, good. I think so. I think you know what I've noticed lately, um, while as we're speaking and recording this podcast, I didn't attend an event last week that a lot of our friends did, and you know what I really enjoyed? Seeing people that weren't on stages before on stages now. I seen people that their businesses were at a certain point that have been able to achieve success in a way that made them attend that event. They were able to do that and it didn't hurt, right? I've seen people now starting their own podcasts, getting into hundreds and hundreds of episodes. People will start to write their own articles now and be accepted by magazines. It's really cool to see these people come to maturity in this realm where it didn't really exist until we all started doing it, right? Until I hate taking the credit for it, but people will do that to me. Where I was like, hey, we should all start doing this, and then all of a sudden it's created this thing where people feel like they have a home right within the industry, and that's pretty cool to see. I think everybody's doing really well.
Hmm. What has your son taught you?
Oh, that kid, dude. Especially through this, I think that sometimes you don't expect people to be able to take what they can actually take, right? I didn't think Eli was mature enough to handle what I was going through. And, the kid handled it like a champ, started doing things without me asking because he knew that it would help. He kind of was able to witness that I would forget certain things here or there. And I would go to be like, oh, shoot, I forgot this. And I would look over in the passenger seat and Eli took it from the apartment and already put it in the seat, right? Because he was like, yeah, I didn't want you to forget that. So I think that there's that aspect of it. Kyla, who's my admin here at Wis-Coat, when it was happening, I looked at her and I'm like, if this ship's going to keep sailing, you're going to have to take the wheel for a little bit. I'll row. That's mindless. I can do the rowing, but you're going to have to steer the ship. And she fell right in, and it was a little abrasive at first, but after 4 weeks or so, she was doing really well. So I think when you have the right people around you in your culture, whether it's family or not, there's a sense of responsibility that gets taken on for those people in the time of need. And it seems like everybody did really, really well. With Blacktop Banner, I didn't touch it from the end of May until the end of November. Chris took care of all of that and was just like, hey, I got everything I need. Go ahead. Take your time. Do your thing. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Wow. And are you able to talk about the new project or no?
Yeah, so I just dialed back. Like I'm not doing anything really super fantastic. We are I'm gonna be keep writing. I think that for me, there's a couple topics that I've always wanted to write about. And really I wanted to do interviews on Blacktop Banner that really didn't fit Blacktop Banner's MO. And I just want to do these interviews. I don't necessarily want them to be podcasts, but I would love to do these interviews and ask these questions that I've been wanting to ask these people in certain positions so that I can find what a few traits are that they have and then talk about those of power traits. Like these are just traits that they have. Were they developed? Were they not developed? So I would really love to do that. But for the most part, you'll see me a lot still working with a few partners here or there um, and creating some content about those types of things, but more content about the industry and the people in it versus, the actual people that make it up versus the things or companies that make it up. And I think that I'm more excited about that probably than anything.
People oriented more than things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I consider a company a thing. It's a working machine if you get it tuned in just right, all the parts, like a truck or a backhoe or a paver or whatever. I consider it a thing. And I've always been focusing on, tell us about your business. I'll get a little bit of detail, right, about their life, but then mainly what's the business? What do you guys do? How does it help the industry? Whatever it is, or what does it do for the industry? The best Blacktop Banner episodes were always people who kind of were in the industry, but then weren't. And I got to ask them about these fantastic lifestyles that they live, right? How they come to these conclusions, similar to what you do here on Culture Matters, where you really dig into the person. I love our industry and the people that make it up. I was able to take a few pictures and get on a few job sites actually, which felt really good this year. I hadn't done that with other companies in a long time. I used to do that early on, would travel around. I was in Tennessee and Nashville and was able to be a seal coat specialist and took a great picture of a guy there that told me a story about how he didn't have a home. He didn't have very much. And the owner who's in the field like me still, was able to teach him a trade, and this trade changed his life, right? It's a great story. And it's like, man, what am I doing? I'm talking about plate compactors, seal coat, mixture design, all this stuff, and this story sitting right in front of me that could inspire a lot of people and change some lives. So I want to focus on that stuff a lot more over the next year. And then we'll see. I think I want to take that year off, that committed year off from a lot of things that I was doing and refocus, keep a presence there, but also just kind of refocus and take it in. I'm really going to enjoy attending some of the upcoming conferences as the owner of Wis-Coat, right? I haven't done that in 10 years probably. That's going to be great to be able to sit there and people ask me about my business and not ask me or not talk to me about podcast episodes or products or whatever it is. Like I'm really excited about that. After that year, we'll see where I'm sitting and what's going on, but I'm really excited about getting some free space up and being able to get creative and think about really what I want to focus on for my career or legacy of my career for the rest of the time here.
What could it be?
I honestly think it's going to be kind of what your intro was, right? Where people kind of view me as that person. I had to send out an email to the success group um, this week, and it was literally, hey, uh, I know we've done a lot of cool things, and we've done some things that we're pioneering things together as a group of peers of a mastermind within this thing, and it wouldn't have existed without you all. Your membership dues, very minimal, paid for me to have somebody be able to organize events, pay for venues, do these things, and take care of the admin work for the BBSG. And I think that we did a lot and we got a lot out of what BB has done over the last few years. Sent that out because we were going to do a call last night, which we did. And it was just kind of a precursor of, we're going to end BBSG. This call is going to be about that and where we should go and what we should do and what we want to think about. And I didn't expect the members to respond with the gratitude and talking about how big of a difference it made in their life. Right. I want to do more of that. Yeah, I want to do more of that. And I don't want to do it one on one like I was. It's a hard lift. It's a lot. You and I have been around um, companies that have memberships, right? And it's a lot when there's a lot of people. It's a lot to keep a lot of people happy and keep one-on-one interaction with them and whatnot, which a lot of people crave. I would much rather do it at scale where somebody can read something and it affect them the same way, right? I'm more or watch one of my videos and it affect them the same way. I'm more excited about that, I think.
So the success group is done.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be um for the most part. I got a lot of, can we just keep the chat open? I'm like, yeah, we can keep the chat open because, we'll be in the field and somebody be like, hey, this pump blew up. How do I fix this thing on the fly? I'm in the middle of a parking lot. Like, okay, yeah, we can keep the chat open because we're going to need to do those types of things. But more of the interactions came one on one when they were more personal. Right. So it'll exist. I think the friendship and the camaraderie in that group will always exist. It just won't exist in the organized form that it was before, where there was somebody logistically taking care of who's hosting what call on what day and what discounts come from what companies and how you take advantage of them with what codes and stuff. It just got commercialized, and it got lost in that. Although it seemed like a great idea to give my friends discount codes by just having partners, it got commercialized and we lost it. And I watched it and I knew better than that. Like I knew better than to do that, Jay. But you get caught in this wheel of success, right? And making whatever you have the best. And you lose a little bit of the aura. And I think that's what happened, really.
Would you have a funeral?
No, 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 I don't think so. I think it just was like,
Like a liturgy?
yeah, yeah. I think it would be like,
Liturgy. Each person shares their testimony of what it
maybe.
was like with
I
the
don't
group.
know. I
How
don't know
many, I
about
mean,
that. I'm more of like I do the to be honest with
special.
you, I know, man, but you've seen me before. I'm more of the Irish goodbye, or like, where'd he go? Oh, he must have left. That's what I would more prefer with it. I'm like, oh, it just I guess I ain't seen nothing about that in a while. Oh, okay. and then they move on with their life and their thoughts,
Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, Goodwill Hunting. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that scene, like, you better, man, what's that scene? Ah, it's gonna kill me. You know what I'm talking? You've seen that
Yeah,
movie?
yes. Yeah, I just watched it. Yeah, I just watched it. Yeah, bring it up.
Ah, this is like, ah, I guess it's the construction scene.
Yeah, with
Can
when
you hear?
Affleck's like if that's what you do with your life, it's like every day I come to your house.
Mom for 7 years.
It's like an ad.
Yeah, this
Homeschool.
is an ad for now. You'll be able to skip it in a minute. Here we go.
Can you hear it?
Sitting in your office and the boy isn't here. Hey,
Can you hear it?
Ash is
Yeah.
gone. Gone where? Med school, medical school in California. Really? When was this? It's like a week ago. That sucks. So, when are you done with those meetings? I think the week after I'm 21. Yeah, they gonna hook you up with a job or what? Yeah, fucking sit in a room and do long division for the next 50 years. Probably make some nice bank. It'll be a fucking lab rat. Better than this shit. Way out of here. I want to way out of here for. I mean, I'm gonna fucking live here the rest of my life. Be neighbors. We'll have little kids. Fucking take them a little league together up Foley Field. Look, you're my best friend, so don't take this the wrong way. But in 20 years, if you're still living here, coming over my house to watch the Patriots game, you're still working in construction, I'll fucking kill you. That's not a threat. That's a fact. I'll fucking kill you. What the fuck are you talking about? You got something none of us. Oh, come on. Why is it always this? I mean, I fucking owe it to myself to do this and that. What if I don't want to? No. Fuck you. You don't owe it to yourself. You owe it to me. Because tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'll be 50. And I'll still be doing this shit. That's all right. That's fine. I mean, you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. You're too much of a pussy to cash it in. And that's bullshit. Because I'd do fucking anything to have what you got. So would any of these fucking guys. It'd be an insult to us if you're still here in 20 years. Hanging around here is a fucking waste of your time. You don't know that. I don't? No, you don't know that. No, I don't know that. Let me tell you what I do. Every day I come by your house and I pick you up. When we go out, we have a few drinks and a few laughs, and it's great. You know what the best part of my day is? For about 10 seconds from when I pull up to the curb when I get to your door. Because I think maybe I'll get up there, I'll knock on the door, and you won't be there. No goodbye, no see you later, no nothing. Just left. I don't know much, but I know that.
Damon just looking at him. Yeah. Yeah, I think that for me, like that's a peaceful way. Everybody's always trying to figure out how to do that type of thing the right way. Right. It's like, that's kind of the more peaceful way. Like people don't wonder very long. They grieve for a long time, but people don't wonder very long. They're like, oh, huh, go back to whatever they were doing. But if someone hits you with, this is dead, or he's dead, or this is dead, then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, right? So I think that's the right way in my mind, right? So yeah, it's been a unique 2024, and a year of rebirth. So it's been very cool. I feel fledgling kind of again, which is really unique. Got some big moves, right? We're southwest corner, Wisconsin, always have been. I've spent probably collectively 4 months in Nashville area over this year, right? Spent a lot of time there with Nikki and whatnot. Now Nikki comes up here for weeks on end, and we just kind of go back and forth. Uh, Eli's really excited about Nashville and the opportunity that's there for him. It's rebirth. Um, yeah, it's a unique thing to be able to stand on Wis-Coat, right? This thing that's I've essentially been married to for this long that never seems to get old to me for any reason, and I have a huge appreciation for. And I can go out and do things like BB and fail. I can go out and start another business and fail and come back if I want to. But to have the security of this symbiotic relationship between Wis-Coat and myself has been pretty fantastic. And I think it's the foundation for whatever's next too.
You're listening to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast. I challenge you to go check out season 20, episode 237, season 33, episode 389, season 39, episode 459. Three very different conversations with our boy MJ. I'm already excited for the next.
You too, man. Appreciate it.